At the beginning of the story, we see two criminals, one named Jenny and the other named Vic. Both of them had recently been released from prison. They went to a supermarket and bought many dangerous things. Then they rented a house in a secluded area. They made the house completely soundproof, closed the windows, and put various locks on the doors. Actually, Jenny and Vic were planning to commit a big crime. Next, they stole a car and made that soundproof too. Then, they stood by a deserted road with the stolen car, waiting for someone to come. After a while, when a rich businessman's daughter, named Alice, was passing by that road, they both came out of the car, wearing black masks, and kidnapped Alice from behind. Alice screamed, but there was no one around to save her. Jenny and Vic put Alice in the car, covered her face, and took her to the house they had soundproofed. Then they forced Alice to lie on the bed, handcuffed her hands, and tied her legs with ropes. Alice kept screaming to save herself and tried hard to free herself, but who would come to save her in this deserted place? Then, they removed the cloth from Alice's face, made her wear a tracksuit, and took some pictures. Then, they left Alice in the room and closed the door. Jenny and Vic then sent Alice's pictures to her father and demanded $2 million as ransom. Their plan was to hand over Alice to her father after taking the money, and they would both go to another city and start a new life with that money. Whenever they went to Alice's room, they wore masks. Jenny was a bit soft-natured, so she didn't want to hurt Alice much because she had never kidnapped anyone before. But Vic was completely ruthless and had spent his entire life committing crimes. So Jenny had to obey all of Vic's words. Jenny was very scared and couldn't work properly on the plan. Also, she wasn't eating properly, but Vic convinced her that if they made any mistakes, they would have to go back to jail. Then, Vic and Jenny went to Alice's room and removed the cloth from her face and said harshly, "If you scream or try to escape, I will kill you. If you want your good, listen to what I say." Vic gave Alice food and water, but she kept screaming in panic and begged him to let her go. Then Vic told her, "There's no point in screaming. No one can hear your voice here. This room is completely soundproof." Vic also said, "If you need to go to the toilet, signal with your fingers." When Alice signaled with her fingers, Jenny brought a bottle and asked her to urinate in the bottle. Alice was still tied to the bed, so she had no choice but to urinate in the bottle. After a while, Vic went outside and told Jenny to keep an eye on Alice. After Vic left, Jenny sat and looked at Alice's pictures and started to get attracted to her. Later, she went to Alice's room and tried to touch her, but just then, there was a knock on the door. Jenny quickly came out of the room and opened the door. Vic came and informed her that Alice's father had refused to pay the money. Now they had to do something to force him to pay. Vic and Jenny came to Alice again and threatened her. "Tell your father to pay the money, or we will kill you." Then, Jenny turned on a camera and forced Alice to speak to her father with a knife to her throat. Trembling with fear, Alice looked at the camera and said, crying, "Give them what they want, Dad. Otherwise, they will kill me." They sent this video to Alice's father. At night, when Vic was not home, Jenny went to Alice's room. Alice signaled that she wanted to go to the toilet. Jenny brought a bucket and untied one of her hands and legs and instructed her to use the toilet. But she kept a gun pointed at her so that she wouldn't try to escape. Then, Alice said, "I can't use the toilet like this in front of you. Please, turn your back." Jenny initially refused, but eventually agreed and turned her back. Just then, Alice seized the opportunity, picked up the bucket, and hit Jenny on the head. Jenny's gun fell from her hand, and Alice picked it up, pointing it at her. Alice fired twice to scare her, one bullet hitting the wall. Then, she asked Jenny for the handcuff key. Jenny initially refused, but when Alice pointed the gun at her, she took off her mask in fear. Alice was shocked to see that the criminal was none other than her ex-boyfriend. Seeing such a big betrayal, Alice was stunned. She became extremely angry with Jenny. Jenny tried to explain, "I kidnapped you so that your father would give us the money. After getting the money, I would deceive Vic and run away with you with all the money." She further said, "We both love each other, but your father won't let us marry. So I made this plan so that we can go somewhere far away and start a new life." But Alice didn't believe her, because if there was true love, Jenny would have told her about this plan beforehand. At that moment, Vic suddenly started knocking loudly on the door. Jenny panicked and tried to tie Alice back to the bed, but Alice refused. Then, Jenny somehow convinced her and tied her up again as before. Then Jenny opened the door, and Vic entered the room. Vic informed her that Alice's father had agreed to pay the money, and they had to go to collect it the next evening. Now that it was night, they both had dinner and went to sleep. The next morning, when Vic and Jenny woke up, they went to Alice. They saw that Alice was not moving, which scared them. They thought that Alice might have died, but when Vic shook her hard, Alice moved a little, which relieved them. Then Vic started feeding Alice, and Jenny stood beside him. Suddenly, Alice and Jenny's eyes fell on a bullet lying on the floor, which Alice had fired the previous day to scare Ginny. Ginny didn't want Vic to see it, so she tried to pick it up secretly. But Vic stopped her. After a while, the spoon fell from Vic's hand, landing right next to the bullet. Then Ginny quickly picked up the spoon and the bullet, but Vic didn't notice it. Ginny took the bullet to the bathroom and tried to flush it. But even after flushing repeatedly, the bullet wouldn't go down. Vic, standing outside, became suspicious hearing the repeated flushing sounds and asked her to open the door. When Ginny delayed opening the door, Vic got angry and broke down the door. But before that, Ginny was forced to swallow the bullet. Vic asked, "Why were you so late opening the door?" Ginny said, "I had a stomachache." Vic then assured Ginny that they would soon start a new life with $2 million and they would never have to work again. Actually, Vic is gay and he loves Ginny. They had been in a relationship since they were in jail. But Ginny is not gay. She was pretending to be in a relationship with Vic just to make her plan successful. One day, when Vic went out, Ginny came to Alice and said that she loved her and they would escape from here together. Alice also pretended to love her and gradually lured Ginny into untying her bonds. Then, seizing the opportunity, she pushed Ginny away and handcuffed her. Then, Alice started looking for a way out of the room but found the door locked. While searching for the door key, she found a mobile phone and called the police. But she didn't know her location, so she couldn't give any information to the police. Then she found a gun and returned to Ginny, and she pointed the gun at Ginny and asked for the door key. Ginny said that the key was in her pocket. When Alice came forward to take the key, Ginny kicked her and knocked her unconscious and quickly freed herself. Then she tied Alice up again as before. After a while, Vic returned and told Ginny that they had to get rid of Alice now. He told Ginny to prepare the van and went to Alice himself. While Vic was talking to Alice, the phone fell out of his pocket. Vic was surprised to see it and realized that Alice had called the police. He got angry and started beating Alice, asking how she got this phone. Alice cleverly framed Ginny. She said Ginny gave it to her. Vic was surprised. After a while, he found the bullet stuck in the wall, which Alice had fired the previous day. Seeing this, he got even angrier and pressured Alice to tell the truth. Here, Alice tried to create conflict between Vic and Ginny. She told Vic, "Ginny doesn't trust you. She is plotting against you." She further said, "Ginny said that after getting the money, she would deceive you and run away with the money and give me some share." Vic was shocked to hear this. He couldn't understand how the person he loved could betray him. The next day, they injected Alice with a sedative and took her to a warehouse. Then Vic and Ginny went to collect the money. Reaching the forest, Ginny asked, "Where is Alice's father?" Vic then informed her that he had changed the location for collecting the money beforehand. Then he took out a gun and pointed it at Ginny and said, "I know everything. You have betrayed me." Ginny got scared and apologized, but Vic was not willing to forgive her. Then, Ginny understood and ran away. Vic chased her and fired from behind. The bullet hit Ginny, but she somehow hid behind a tree. After searching for a while and not finding Ginny, Vic went to collect the money. Vic took $2 million from Alice's father and put it in the car. Then he returned to the warehouse and was about to kill Alice with a poisonous injection. Just then, injured Ginny came there, snatched Vic's gun, and pointed it at him. Here, Alice learned that Vic and Ginny had a relationship. When Vic tried to snatch the gun, Ginny shot him dead. Alice thought that Ginny would save her. But Ginny realized that Alice had betrayed her, so she left her tied up and went away. Outside, she was happy to see so much money in the car and wanted to go to the hospital quickly. On the other hand, Vic gave Alice the handcuff key at the last moment and died. Alice freed herself and came outside and saw that Ginny was sitting in the car, but she had also died due to blood loss. Then Alice sat in the car and decided that she would not return to her father. Instead, she would start a new life with this money. And the movie ends here. So friends, if you were in Alice's place, would you trust Ginny? Let us know your opinion in the comments. If you liked the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel to stay connected with us. We will talk again in the next video. Bye-bye.